Welcome back to the show.
Yes.
We're going to do something a little different this week. We're going to talk about hauntings at Disney resorts, or ghost stories at Disney resorts.
Well, since it's October and Halloween's coming, we thought it'd be fun to do something like that, such as we had the Cursed podcast last time.
Right, so this isn't Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. This is Mickey's Scary Halloween Party.
This is Mickey's Scary Every Day of the Year Party.
Mickey's House of Horrors, okay?
These are just, like I said, rumors or stories. I mean, we can't confirm any of these.
Okay, well, Cam is actually going to go through the list of stories here. I'm not too familiar with them, but she's been compiling a list for the last week or two now, so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Well, I'm going to jump around from different places because I'm on several different websites, and I'll give you the websites. First, we're going to start out at Ghosts and Ghouls, readingaboutthis.com.
Sounds ominous.
Sounds ominous. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so of course, we're going to start with, where else? The Haunted Mansion. Now, I remember, Tom, you had said about reading about this on before, about the woman whose son had been killed, and that he loved the Haunted Mansion, and she wanted to spread his ashes in Disneyland, the Haunted Mansion.
That's a thing. Like, it's not just one case, but they've actually had people try to do that on several occasions.
Yeah, they said pirates, people have done it into actual water, so you can't take it out.
Don't drink the water on Pirates of the Caribbean.
I wouldn't drink the water on Pirates anyway, but we'll start with Haunted Mansion. Anyway, her son supposedly was killed, and she decided she was going to dump his ashes in the Haunted Mansion. And they told her no, but she did it anyway. And they said, note, CNN reports a family of a 7-year-old boy did indeed dump his ashes in the Haunted Mansion. But I think that's the case where they got the vacuum out and turned the ride off.
Okay.
Well, didn't you say there's like a special vacuum they keep?
I think I read, this is a few years ago, but I read they actually had a special like hazmat cleanup device for human remains at Disney.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, supposedly after this happened, weird stuff started happening at the Haunted Mansion. Guests were getting off the ride and reported to the cast member that there were little kids running around. There was a little kid running around the ballroom scene. So the cast members send security in to look, and they don't find anything. Guests have also reported seeing a little boy standing alone at the exit and crying. Well, the poor, I mean, this is to say that it is true, and he is a ghost. Why would your parents trap you in the Haunted Mansion?
Oh, that's horrible. That's like a plot of a movie.
Crying because he can't get out. Anyway, and someone said that they have asked him if he needed help, and he acted like they weren't there. Some even said he disappeared. Of course, by the time they tell a cast member about the boy and the cast member goes check it out, he's long gone. They said it gets creepier. This is going crazy. The person who wrote this article has a friend who worked at the Haunted Mansion, and he mentioned the haunting stories to him, and he said he was glad to hear it because he thought he was going crazy. But late at night, cast members will often only run one stretch room because it gets so quiet, and that means that between the group of guests, the cast members at the load are all alone, waiting for people. Well, one cast member was waiting for the next group of guests when she thought she heard a child laughing. She figured the next group had arrived and kids were coming, but no one ever showed up. Then she saw something move out of the corner of her eye, and she turned to look but didn't see anyone. So she put it off as her imagination. However, she saw it again and again and again, but no one was ever there. Well, about this time, she starts feeling a cold chill and getting kind of freaked out. All of a sudden, she feels someone put their hand on her shoulder, and of course, no one's there. She screamed and ran out and told management she wouldn't work in the mansion again.
Oh, that's trippy.
So that's the first. We're going to go through site by site. That's the first story on the site. The next one is the disappearing Disney worker. It's also for the Haunted Mansion. And they said...
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, they said one Friday afternoon, their family was visiting the Haunted Mansion. They were waiting in line, getting dune buggies, 3 cast members working loading. Female behind the controls, a male at the ride entrance, which is normal, and a male walking in the walkway, normal. I had a side view of the walking cast member, who's a young man with light brown or dark blonde hair. He was looking at a small piece of paper, a little bigger than a business card, and he'd stopped loading the ride for a few seconds because a couple of the buggies were occupied with visitors. During that time, the walking cast member all of a sudden reached down as if to pick something up and never came back up. When I walked through the entrance, looked down the side of the ride and not see the cast member. When my husband and I were loaded into the dune buggy, I asked him what he thought the cast member was picking up. He said no one was picking up anything. Then I went through my story, and he told me there wasn't another male loading guest. And I asked my daughter and her friend, and they said they only saw the female and the one male cast member. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, that's true. Well, actually, that'd be funny if they did something like that just to freak out the guests and perpetuate, you know?
Yeah, but it'd be kind of hard to just disappear.
Yeah. No, you can do it with Disney Magic. I mean, come on. Magic.
So we're gonna stay at the same site because it's easier just to do this and jump around.
Yeah.
And down on this page too, they're talking about the man with no eyes.
Ooh.
Okay, on Dinosaur, one of Tom's.
I like Dinosaur. I know people hate it, but I like it. So
this guy, long story short, went to Disney with his aunt, and they were riding Dinosaur. And an old man sat down next to him. He was gray hair, short beard, wearing a ball cap. And the whole ride didn't react to anything. Like, he just stared straight ahead. Like, it's making a lot of noise, but if you've ridden Dinosaur, it's kind of all over the place. You're moving. I mean, that's a bumpy ride.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, it's a rough ride.
He didn't react, smile, anything. So when they got off the ride, they went to check their photos. And when they got the picture up, they were all looking at the dinosaur that, comes out at you and they take your picture. But this guy's looking straight ahead, not reacting to it. And they said he had no glasses or sunglasses on, but it looked like he had no eyes in the picture. But that could have been, honestly, a reflection.
A
it could
blur
have been
or something.
A bunch of things. I mean, it is awfully odd that he's looking straight ahead the entire ride. But I don't think you can tell from this picture in a dark ride that he has no eyes. I'm just saying, it's probably some weird guy who was just sitting on the ride. Then we got creepy cowboys. Okay, so they're by the Golden Horseshoe going towards the shooting gallery. Mm-hmm. And this guy says, for a split second, he saw a cowboy in a white cowboy outfit. He was wearing pants, a western shirt, boots, and a hat. Unfortunately, they have a typo here and says he was wearing ants. I'm assuming that's pants.
That would be really creepy if you were wearing ants.
So anyway, he had long gray hair and a white handlebar mustache. He looked right at me. I looked at my fiance and back towards the cowboy, but he was gone. We walked on the spot again, and I saw the cowboy upstairs in the balcony, and he was younger, was short. Another cowboy, different cowboy.
How many cowboys they got at Disneyland?
He said I saw a cowboy upstairs, and he was younger with short brown hair. Well, that could have been a cast member.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, okay, that one isn't really a ghost story, I don't think.
No, that's just a kind of a weird coincidence. I would love for people, on our Facebook page, if they have any stories of their own that they've heard or they've had any experiences themselves, shoot us a message on Facebook. We'd love to hear about it.
Well, also, if you go to our Shadowbinders podcast, I did a whole month a couple years ago of ghost stories because I grew up in a house that had a little bit of interesting things happen, and I did a whole bunch of podcasts on that. So if you like ghost stories, go check that out because I have a bunch on there. Okay, so this is about Disneyland specifically. Okay. And let's see. Okay. 7 most gruesome deaths at Disney. That's nice. Yeah, well, there have been, unfortunately, there have been quite a few accidents, at Disney over the years. So maybe, I don't know if you believe in that sort of thing. Maybe there's some paranormal activity associated with disgruntled. I don't know. Well, they're talking about the Main Street fire station, and, Walt had his apartment in there, and he would often go up there and light a lamp in the window, let people know he was there. Mm-hmm. So when he passed away, the one woman went up there to clean the apartment, and the lamp was on, so she turned it off. And then when she went outside, it was on again. So she went back in and turned it off again. And went back outside, and it was on again. And so it kept happening. She kept going and turning off, and it kept turning back on. And cast members report footsteps and knocking coming from the fire station apartment, especially at night. So they think it might be Walt. So Walt's hanging out at Disneyland. I mean, it could also be a faulty wire in the lamp. But, it could either be Walt Disney or a faulty wire. I'm just saying. That's true. Okay, they said there's some stores that are haunted. They said the 4th floor stockroom of the Star Trader at the Exodus Star Tours in Tomorrowland has cold spots and a creepy feeling. There are also stories of merchandise being rearranged on the shelves after the shop is locked up for the night when no one's around. It's the Sith. You know how they are. Blame the Sith. They're just sitting in the corner using the Force powers. Because, if I had Force powers, that's what I'd do. Prank people. They also heard at the Hatmosphere, the hat booth between America Sings and Tomorrowland, Autotopia is haunted. Supposedly the sewing machine they used to embroider names on hats never gets warm even after being used all day long. And once someone saw a face in it. Wait, what? I'm just reading what it says. I'm sorry. The sewing machine never gets warm, and there was a face in it. It's like this people. Look, my toast has a picture of Jesus on it. I'm going to sell it on eBay. My pancakes look like Mickey Mouse. Oh. No, but speaking of sewing machines, I got a funny story that was not related to ghosts, but it scared the crap out of me. So I'm talking to my mom on the phone. I left my sewing machine on because I do a lot of sewing. And all of a sudden, the sewing machine starts going crazy, and it's just like going really fast. And that needle is just going up and down, up and down, up and down. And I'm nowhere near it. And I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with my sewing machine? And then I realized that my cat is laying on the pedal on the floor underneath, and he laid on it because it was someplace to lay, and it set the sewing machine off.
No.
I about had heart failure, though. This thing starts going. I'm on the phone, and if you grew up where I grew up, that kind of stuff would make you freak a little bit.
Did it have a face in it?
Yeah, a cat face. He looked at me and said, meow. So they also said one of the ice cream carts is supposedly haunted. Apparently, I'm assuming it stays cold, too.
Okay.
No, I'm joking.
Did you see a face in that? Did you see Walt's face?
I saw Mickey Mouse heads.
Oh,
chocolate dipped.
No.
People have reported hearing a woman's voice even though there's no woman around.
Wait, what? There's no women allowed?
No, around.
Okay.
The ice cream cart is supposedly haunted. People report hearing a woman's voice even though there's no woman around. But wait, not trying to be a weirdo, but if you're at Disneyland, I'm sure there's lots of women around.
Yeah, the thing that's hard with this too is there's so much going on at the parks with the sound effects and the ambiance and people on their phones and playing music.
And sounds travel.
And
we need to send ghost hunters there.
Yeah, actually it would be really cool, but I mean, it would be really hard to tell whether or not it was, how would you even do that? Yeah, Ghost Hunters Disney Edition would be absolutely awesome. So Disney, if you're listening, send the Ghost Hunters.
Listen to us.
Yeah, like they would. Send the Ghost Hunters to Disney World and Disneyland. That would be awesome. Like overnight when the park's closed.
Heck, send me. I'll go investigate.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Main Street, there has been sightings of a lady in white. She appears in and around the stores on Main Street and is dressed in clothing from the turn of the 20th century.
It's a cast member.
But Disney was never there then. No. Legend says she died in the property in the early 1900s, but never moved on.
What?
Okay, so if you're going to be trapped somewhere and dead, Disneyland would be the great place to be.
Yeah, that would be a really pretty cool
I died in this land, but later Disneyland came, and now I get to haunt Disneyland forever. So the monorail. So apparently in 1966, a 19-year-old boy tried to sneak into Disneyland for grad night, because they do the grad nights, and apparently they've done them for years. So this kid was snuck over the perimeter fence and onto the monorail track, and a security guard saw him and tried to tell him to get down because it was dangerous, and he didn't listen, and he ran away so he wouldn't get in trouble, but instead of getting in trouble, he got hit with a monorail.
I have heard this before.
And he was dragged 30 or 40 feet before the train stopped. So this one person worked in Disneyland, and he said he heard rumors that sometimes late at night, cast members driving the monorail will see a young man running along the monorail tracks at the back of the park, in the spot where the kid died. 1 minute the figure's there, the next minute it's gone. I heard it was very creepy.
That would be
it's
very
like master the obvious sentence.
Yeah, the ghost was scary. No, I have heard about the monorail accident. It's unfortunate, but there have been, some deaths at the park.
I'm not laughing about the kid getting killed. That's terrible. I'm laughing about the name of this one. Space Mountain. Guests and cast members have reported seeing Disco Debbie.
Wait, what?
That's what it says.
What?
Debbie?
Disco Debbie? Is that like Disco Duck? Like Donald Duck?
I don't know.
Like Mickey Mouse Disco?
Debbie is a glowing green ghost inside the ride who was reported to be a cast member who died of an aneurysm behind the Space Mountain building.
But they called her Disco Debbie?
Why would you call it what? She died in the 70s, so it just seemed fitting?
Oh,
People reported also seeing a man with reddish hair and a red face. And he usually gets into a seat next to a single rider. And by the time the ride ends, the man has disappeared. Supposedly this is a ghost of a man who died in the ride in the 70s. They call him Mr. One Way.
Wait, whoa. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But this is getting really creepy. Disco Debbie and Mr. One Way?
Apparently.
I guess... is there a Mr. Two Ways? I mean...
No, he's one way because he only rides in the ride one way and then he disappears. However, come on a minute. If you're riding Space Mountain, well, first of all, because the Space Mountain Disneyland, the seats are side to side. In Disney World, it's like toboggan style. Yeah. So you get on the ride and there's a guy sitting next to you with the red hair and red face. And then you get off the ride, the man's gone. I poop a little.
Just a little?
Probably a lot.
You saw Mr. One Way. Disco Debbie.
And apparently he's seen... This is even better.
Not in
Wait, it gets better. Mr. One Way. Okay.
Okay.
He's also sometimes seen in the cast member locker rooms.
Mr. No.
Oh, okay.
He's getting a peep show.
Anyway.
That's why his face is red.
I'm assuming. I mean, that could be. Okay. This is fun. Okay, at America's Things and Inventions, this is the big round rotating building at the east end of Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
It originally was the Carousel of Progress.
Yeah, they took it out in the 70s and brought it to Disney World.
Yeah.
Which
my
we're
favorite.
glad it's at Disney World. We love that ride. So.
Okay, so the American Things is a show about the history of the first 200 years of the United States. Okay. So 2 weeks after new attraction opened, a new ride operator, 18-year-old Deborah Stone, was killed. Another Debbie was killed when she was crushed between the wall of the moving audience section of the building and the stationary stage. That's terrible.
This I have heard about. I knew that was one of the deaths at Disneyland. It was on the Carousel of Progress. You can, and if you've obviously if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably been on one or the other of the attractions, and I mean there's a lot of force behind.
Well, yeah,
that. I mean those walls are thick, and So ever since, the cast members working the ride have reported hearing a voice tell them to be careful. Well, at least she's very considerate. That is
very nice of her. And the America's Things building is also said to be haunted by the ghost of a teenage boy who died in the speed tunnel section of the PeopleMover, which is in the outer edge of the building. The boy died while trying to jump from one car to another and was dragged along the track before the ride came to a stop.
What?
Why would you do that?
I don't know. This is what gets me. Like, I mean, you hear about these theme park accidents. I mean, definitely my heart goes out to anyone who's lost a family member in such an accident. But some of these are like they could be avoided so easily. It's like if they tell you not to go into a restricted area,
don't stand up on a ride.
Don't stand up on the ride. Don't.
There's a reason. There's rules. Now here's the Matterhorn. In 1984, Dolly Young was riding on the Matterhorn on the Tomorrowland side, and there's 2 tracks that go through the ride. Yep. She was alone in the back seat, and a child was alone in the front seat. In the middle of the ride, she unbuckled herself, supposedly to assist the child in the seat in front of her. She stood up just before the dip where the outer track crosses over the track she was riding on, hit her head in the bridge, and fell into the track. When the next sled came along, she got run over. The story is that they had to dismantle the track to dislodge her body.
Oh, God.
One person said he worked the ride for several years and never saw her, but I sure did feel her. After the ride closes for the day, 2 people have to walk the track, one on each side of the mountain. You have to walk the track, start at the bottom, and work your way back to the top. It's done to look for lost and found items. Every time I was unlucky enough to get the track walking shift, I had an uneasy feeling like someone was watching me. I was always convinced it was Dolly, so I would often say hi to her. The feeling was always the worst in the big cavern in the middle of the ride, and the Dolly Dip, the spot where she died. They actually call it the Dolly Dip.
They call it the Dolly. Oh, that's really tacky.
In fact, the working lights in the tunnel near Dolly's the story hip always seemed to be burned out. And in 6 years, I don't think I ever saw one of those lights working. I hated running the track at the end of my shift, and I usually tried to get someone else to do it for me.
They actually call it the Dolly Dip.
Oh, Small World. Now, there's something creepy about those dolls. Okay, this story is that several cast members who worked on It's a Small World loved the ride so much they came back to reside there after they died. It's a small world over and over again for eternity. The legend is that the lights will turn on and off, and the dolls will keep on dancing and singing after hours when the electricity has been turned off.
That's a little creepy, yeah.
And this person said, I worked the ride for 6 years, and it's the very first ride I learned back in whatever. I remember having fun on my breaks walking through the ride, and I walked behind the sets, under the sets, and even through the walls in the middle of the attraction. Is he a ghost? Yep, there's a door that goes from the Antarctic region at the beginning of the ride to the finale at the end. It's a bit creepy in the darker rooms, but not bad.
It's kind of like Super Mario Brothers with the warp pipe, right?
Does it make the noise like that? I would. I get to the door go. Anyway, and then this is about the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. Let me see if there's anything different here we haven't seen. Oh yeah, I saw this one. And someone said this is bullpucky because they said there's no place like this to drop off. But supposedly it's a seance circle that is haunted because some kid decided he wanted to see the seance circle, and he got out of the ride and he went over there and fell down. He didn't realize there was a drop off and fell down and got killed. But they said there's no drop off there, so they don't know what he's talking about.
I don't think no, it's just black.
Okay, so that was on that page was I'm gonna spell it. Mama Chris.
Mama Chris. Okay.
MAMAKRIS.hubpages.com.
Hubpages.com.
Let's see what else we got here.
Giving credit where credit is due.
Let's see if theme park tour is a thing that we didn't talk about yet. Oh, the Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, there's a story about, now, some people say it didn't happen. Other people say it did happen, about George the Welder in Pirates of the Caribbean. This is Magic Kingdom. They said the cast members working on the Pirates of the Caribbean warned about ghost of George. George is said to have been killed during the construction of the ride, either by electrocution or by a falling beam. Cast members claim to have seen a figure roaming around the attraction on security cameras, but there's nobody there when they go to check. They even say good morning and good night to George, who is said to have a mischievous streak and cause him to shut the ride down or play tricks when he's not shown sufficient respect. So they're not calling him like some name like Dolly's Dip or something like that. He's just George.
Dolly's Dip or Disco.
Yeah, Debbie. He's just George because you can't if you disrespect him. So they said the reality was there's no George. That worked there. That's what they're saying. But other people said there was, and they just kept under wraps. So I don't know. Then they're talking about the freaky ghost dolls and small. This is about Disneyland again, talking about how people keep reporting that the dolls keep working after the ride shuts down. And then they're saying there's a ghost children on Tom Sawyer Island at Disneyland. They said apparently cast members have claimed to have seen kids running around the island long after the park closes. When they go look for them, they're nowhere to be found. And they said, well, maybe they're mistaking cats for children because they have feral cats. Those would have to be some dang big cats.
Yes, I know many old ladies that mistake cats for children, too.
Yes, like, could they have mistaken the feral cats for children?
Ah, okay.
Yes, they're just walking on their hind legs.
Dressed in little outfits.
Yeah, aren't they cute?
Yeah.
Some crazy cat lady lives. So, let's see what else we got. Okay, hold on. This is all on themeparktourist.com.
Good site,
okay. Huh? Old version.
So it's a good site, by the way.
Okay.
The Really Haunted Mansion.
We talked about that already. Same stories, I believe.
The Young Pirate.
Okay, The Young Pirate, Pirates of the Caribbean. Walt Disney World's version of Pirates is not alone in having a resident spirit. According to legend, Disneyland also has its own ghost occupant, too. In this case, the ghost of a young boy who, like the boy in the Haunted Mansion, his mother threw his ashes into the water. Because, if my children died, the first thing I would do is go to Disney World and throw their ashes someplace else.
Well, if it was their favorite place to go.
I still wouldn't take my kids' ashes to Disney World and leave them there.
Well, I don't want to ask our children.
No, I'm not going to. Where do you want Mommy to dump you? No, I'm not going to do that. But, they said the boy is said to come out to play when he closed for the night. Cast members claim to have heard laughter when there's nobody else around, and it's a rare case of a ghost who is said to move from attraction to distraction, because the boy is also claimed to have been spotted toward the end of the Haunted Mansion. But it's probably the other boy that was dumped off in the Haunted Mansion. And then the Disneyland thing again with Walt supposedly living in his apartment.
I have heard that one before.
Now, let's see what else. We got modernmouseradio.com.
Okay, that's another podcast.
Let's see what else they have. They have the People Mover, Grad Night one, Tom Sawyer Island one. They talked about that. And they said, this is interesting. They said one teenage boy there's a Grad Night incident that someone died. One teenage boy in the River of America drowned after he jumped in. After dark, cast members even guessed this, that they see someone staring back at them from the shores of Tom Sawyer Island when it's no longer open. And then they said about the small children. Now, Shadowlands.net is a site with just ghost stuff on it. Here's some ones from Disneyland. They don't have Disney World on here, but they have Disneyland ones. The Christmas Shop. Some of the stock crew have reported a strange feeling when alone stalking the store in the morning. There's an old photo from the 19th century of a young woman on the top of one of the shelves, and it has been documented several different times that a stock person will notice the photo frowning when her photo was taken with a straight face at them, along with strange wind in the room. So she's frowning at them as she's whipping up some strange wind.
Strange wind. Defined strange wind.
It's like, what's that smell?
Strange wind.
It wasn't me. It was the girl in the picture. So I'm like, and that's why she's frowning. She's like, you're blaming it on me. No, sorry. I'm a little... Okay, the Disney Gallery, which is above the Pirates of the Caribbean. Workers are reported after park closed. And in the early morning, they see a figure of a tall man walking around the gallery. He is believed to be the spirit of Walt himself. Cold spots are reported by numerous visitors. Well, okay, when you go to a ride, sometimes there's cold spots because of air conditioning. Do you immediately go report it to a cast member?
I don't know.
Just so you know, I felt a cold spot over there by that vent.
Yeah.
Your building must be haunted. The Disneyland fire station. Employees heard footsteps on the second floor at night. Someone knocked on the door. Second floor is not open for public. It's been empty for several years. January 2006, additional information. The room above the Disneyland fire station was built as a place for Walt Disney. We talked about that. Haunted Mansion. They said there's 3 spirits. They're identifying them as 3.
Are they trying to hitch a ride?
I don't know. That's kind of funny. There's an elderly man who died of a heart attack in 1970 before there was a first aid station. an elderly woman and a young man who has quite a sense of humor. There's also something nasty in the attic just before the omnimovers exit to the graveyard. Witnesses reported having their hair pulled in the crypt exit area with no one in sight. Touched on the back by a hand in a car that ended up having no one in the car. See people walking up the portrait hall or the grand staircase, stop and vanish. Faces peer from behind the corners of the top of the grand staircase. Heard footsteps on the false floor behind the load area where no one else was there. Been touched in the face by unseen hands. And seen a man in the exit mirror. Okay, so there's a man in the exit mirror, someone probably walking out of the building.
Right.
I mean, some of these things could have been your hair pulled. You could have got it caught on like something in the doom buggy.
See, I wouldn't even, if I were, people reporting this, but I'm like, you're on a haunted attraction. How do you know it's not a special effect? I mean, how would you even be able to differentiate?
I don't know, but this one about being touched in the face by unseen hands, all I can picture is someone standing there, someone's hands like all over their face, like slapping them in the face. Okay, it's a small world. Lights have turned themselves on and off as well. The dolls moving without power. Okay, the dolls moving without power thing, that's creepy.
That is.
And
creepy.
I have having been witness to things moving without power before. If you listen to the other podcasts, that is freaky as all get out.
Yeah.
I have stories.
You thought the game Five Nights at Freddy's was scary with a couple of crazy animals? How about a whole giant room full of dolls?
Yeah, I mean, seriously. Okay, let's all take a moment and picture this. You're riding through the ride. The ride shuts down because there's no power. But the dolls are still moving. Who would not poo themselves?
It would be even freakier if like the lights were out and you just heard laughing and little feet running.
Well, if you read the Kingdom Keepers books, then you get that one.
Oh yeah, I've never read those.
But
did they use any of these stories in the Kingdom Keepers novels?
Well, the Small World thing was in there.
Yeah.
I mean, the dolls came to life and attacked people, but that's not
Boy.
But yeah, I've had, if you listen to the Shadowbinders.com ones, I have some stories on there with things moving without power. It's a creepy, scary thing to witness. Okay, Matterhorn, I'm talking about the ghost named Dolly. Pirates, the young boy who loved the ride. Okay, we talked about that. Space Mountain, the Mr. One Way, which Tom finds vastly entertaining.
Mr. One Way.
The Star Trader. Cast members have felt cold, eerie wind on the 4th floor of the stock room when there are no doors, vents, or windows up there. That would be a little bit odd.
Yeah, it would be odd.
PeopleMover ride. Reports of operating girls, especially those with long blonde hair, would sometimes feel unseen someone pull viciously at their hair. And then talk about the boy who died at grad night, because he must apparently hate blonde women with long hair.
I don't know.
I will avenge all the blonde women with long hair.
Well, I mean, all things considered, I guess I expected more. I expected, because, I mean, with those parks having such a long history and so many people going through them, I expected, like...
Hold on, I had some other ones here. Let me find
like
them.
The Ghost of Dreamfinder looking to get his ride back. I mean, things like that.
Okay, so here's some other things I had found. I just copied and pasted them on here. Hold on, let me read them. I'm sorry, this is long. Here's a Tower of Terror one.
Oh, there
from ghostvillage.com. The Disney World Tower of Terror. There has been a story among employees of a ghost walking around the Tower of Terror at off hours. He's usually found walking the wrong way. So this is Mr. Wrong Way.
Mr. Wrong Way.
Does not respond to calls and then disappears. And they said on Spaceship Earth, there's a small girl with long blonde hair that's been seen riding in a car, and a boy run in front of her and vanish at the same location. So wait, she's in a car and then a boy runs in front of her car?
I guess.
And they vanish at the same location, and they're outside during the day. That doesn't even make sense, but okay then. Someone said their friend was a manager at the French Pavilion in Epcot. He told me the story of a mysterious guest on the movie theater. The figure would only appear long after the building had been closed. Most people that encounter it thought it was a lingering guest and would ask it to leave, and when they turned around, it was gone. And this person said they personally had experiences at the Adventures Club at Pleasure Island. When they would be in the library alone, they catch a glimpse of a figure dressed in white on the balcony over the organ. And the one guy is claiming that the pirate story about George is true because for years his widow would show up on the day he died with flowers, and she'd get on her own boat and was told to not deny her access and let her on, but deny the stories that actually happened about George. So they said this Frank Wells guy resides in the Matterhorn. Many report seeing him climbing at night and looking down. And he disappears. So was it Dolly? Isn't alone on the Matterhorn. Apparently she has Frank.
Frank and Dolly.
And people will swim in the rivers of America, and people will see it, and then they'll disappear. A man appearing as the engineer on Thunder Mountain only on certain train. His name is Marcello Torres, or how you say that. And he died on Thunder Mountain.
I do know someone died on Thunder Mountain. I think a teenager died on Thunder Mountain once, too.
He said there's a little girl seen by the DCA's entrance, and she's looking for Uncle, and then she's not there. A young boy riding pirates, and then they catch, and they'll see him on the boat, but the cameras won't see him. Or they'll see him on the cameras, but no one else can see him. Now, the non-existent Skyway, people report seeing a man trying to seek revenge by stabbing, and guests feel like a sharp pain, but no physical marks when they leave Tomorrowland. So wait, so people feel like they're getting stabbed, but there's no marks.
Well, I know someone supposedly fell off the Skyway years ago.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, because that Skyway thing they had at Disney World for the longest time, too. It could be a dangerous thing. It really could be.
There were some pretty dangerous rides. I mean, even, Splash Mountain, they finally put lap bars in.
Oh, our son was terrified of it because there was no lap bar.
There's no lap bar, and people were standing up at the top of the
People stand up because they do dumb things.
Yeah, then they fall out of the boat, and then their family sues.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, we were at, I want to say it was Busch Gardens. I'm pretty sure it's Busch Gardens. Because it had the Super Duper Looper. Was it Busch Gardens? I don't remember. But we were standing there waiting to ride the rides, and one of the people that worked there was testing the ride before we could ride it. Literally standing up on the ride, holding on the bar while the ride went upside down.
Oh, wow.
And I remember my dad, who is a big ride person, was just like, why would you do that? He was like, what the heck? What's going on? But I remember being a kid and seeing that and thinking how dumb that guy was.
Yeah, so we don't want any more ghost stories from Disneyland or Disney World. So
plus, who knows what kind of horrible nickname they'll give you?
I know,
like maybe Mr. One Way or
Mr. One Way,
or what was the other one? Disco.
I'll be Tiny
Disco
Tom.
Debbie.
I'll be Tiny Tom.
I don't know what the company name, but you don't want to do that because you don't want to be a terrible nickname.
No, you don't want a terrible nickname. So try very hard not to have an accident at Disney World.
And try not to spread your family's ashes there because they might get trapped.
Don't do that. Yeah, you don't want your family to be trapped for all eternity in Disney World or Disneyland. Although that might not be a bad way to spend the afterlife.
That's way get free. There's an annual pass for you.
That's your eternal pass.
Because they raised the price on the annual pass in California again. So
Yeah. So
annual passes for life for afterlife.
Ooh. So are we done?
I guess this is what I found. But I thought it'd be fun to do.
That is fun. If anyone, like we said before, if anyone has any other ghost stories they would like to share about Disneyland or Disney World, go to our Facebook page and post them. We'd love to read about them. And you can check out our website at piratesandprincesses.net. That's piratesandprincesses.net. Yeah.
And like I said before, if you want to read here's some other, I guess you wouldn't be reading it, you'd be listening to it, other ghost stories. If you go to shadowbinders.com, where do you have it on there?
It's under podcast.
Under podcast.
Yeah.
I gave several podcasts full of just real ghost stories that actually happened, including things that ran without batteries or power.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, and if you want to subscribe to that podcast, that's actually out there on iTunes and Stitcher and everywhere else, as is this one. If you want to help us out, subscribe via iTunes and Stitcher.
Okay. Now we're done with all our plugs.
We're done with all of our plugs. But wait, there's more.
We're going to call you Mr. Pluggy.
Mr. Pluggy?
That sounds like something else.
Pluggy Pete.
Pluggy Pete. But your name's not Pete.
No. Okay. Well, we're gonna go for now. So, be safe at Disney World.
Be safe everywhere.
Okay, bye.